Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
I would just replace all of my chairs with toilets and go on with my life.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
Everyone's idiots.
I am the dog.
Well, I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landen.
For the time being, anyways.
And Caleb.
He's just going to cut out. He's like, not even because of the internet, he's just going to leave.
Just out.
Just going to
Just out.
take off.
Listener, apparently one of us has been having some technical difficulties.
We started trying to record an hour and a half ago, listener. It's been it's been fun. Say that.
Tech is, well...
It's tech.
Is this an indictment of technology as a whole at this point? I feel like it kind of is.
It's just proof that, listener, even if you're not the family tech person, which if you're listening to us, you probably are, but you should know that even the family tech person has technical issues with their stuff on occasion.
It happens, especially if you badmouth a certain company that is listening to you always.
Hey, that wasn't me. That was Caleb.
Sorry.
So Caleb is
is
the reason for all of my issues tonight.
They can't do anything to me, though, because I don't use any of their stuff, so...
And what company were we talking about? Well, listener, just so happens Google, and guess what? There's an event they had. Hey, did you like that segue? The event here is Google I/O 2026, and we're going to talk about and all this wonderful stuff. I'm glad because we had Landen had some unfortunate thing happen. He lost all his notes.
Well, I did. So, okay, I got to start at the beginning of trying to take notes. So, listener, if you listened last week, you know that when I talked about the Android show, I/O edition, I mentioned how I didn't watch the whole video. I watched bits and pieces of it. And I got my notes by plugging the video into Gemini and saying, give me a detailed breakdown of this video. And it did that, and it was extremely helpful and beneficial. I wanted to do that with this one as well, because, again, I did watch some little clips from it, read a lot of articles and stuff. I was like, well, that detailed breakdown that Gemini gave me of the last one was very helpful, so I thought I would do the same thing here. Well, it turns out they update, because of Google I/O, ironically, it wouldn't let me do that. I don't know why, but it wouldn't. So, initially, I get updated my Gemini to the new 3.5 Flash, which is one of the things they announced to Google I/O. And when I asked it to give me a breakdown of this, I put a link to the YouTube video where they live streamed the keynote, and it says, I don't have the ability to watch or analyze the contents of specific YouTube video links or live streams. What?
Good upgrade, Google.
I said, like, you were able to do this last week. Why not now? And it's like, I can completely understand how frustrating it is when something that worked flawlessly a few days ago suddenly stops working. Can you?
Yeah, can you really?
It can't.
Oh, freaking.
So that's where things started to go wrong. And then, so I thought, okay, I'll go in, I'll find some things, I'll write down the notes of things I needed to talk about. I don't need the whole detail, like all the detail of the whole video, because honestly, most of it's irrelevant to 90% of people that watched it. And so I was going through, I took all my notes. I do that usually inside of Google Keep because I can take some notes on my phone, I can do it on my computer, and it just saves online as it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, as I was doing this, I wrote down a whole bunch of notes. My internet, this was part of the problem with before we started recording the podcast, my internet was being really, really weird. So listener, if you don't know, I now have Google Fiber. I'm supposed to be getting really, really fast speeds. I was getting like at most 80 megabytes down not great speeds for 2026, especially when I have fiber internet. I don't know why that was happening, but because that was happening, my Google Keep notes, when I restarted my computer and got everything set up the way it needed to actually work and it was working properly, 2/3 of my notes were just all of a sudden gone for some weird reason. That was really frustrating. And then before we started to record, I went back into Gemini so I could read this whole interaction that I had with it not working. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try something. And if you click in the Gemini app, you can change which version, like you can change it to like, so when I click on it, it says the regular one is 3.5 Flash, which is new, or I can go to 3.1 Pro, that's if I pay for it, obviously, or I can do 3.1 Flash Lite, which is what it was using. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to click on that, re-enter the prompt that I gave it, and sure enough, that worked. So, again, I had to go to the old version of Gemini for it to do what I needed it to do. Why the new one doesn't do that? I don't know. That seems like a downgrade to me, Google. Why would you take that away?
Upgrades to AI being a downgrade in actuality? What? No.
Yeah.
Well,
Weird.
it's not the upgrades to AI that usually is the downgrade. It's adding AI to something. That's the downgrade, which we'll get to in a minute.
True. That's fair.
So that's how the night has started, listener. It's been fun. That's the right F word to use. That's for sure.
That's the fair. All right. Well, let's get into Google I/O.
All right.
Shall we?
So, listener, Google I/O was basically kind of like we had mentioned last week. It needs to be changed to Google AIO because that's really what it is. It's just AI. And this keynote further proved to me, and not only to me, but everywhere that I listened to things about it or read things about it, all agreed that it proves that none of these little departments inside of Google actually talk to each other because every specific little feature is all inside of Gemini, but they all have their own separate names of what there's Google Spark, there's Google Omni, I don't know why they have to. Why can't you just say, and Gemini also does this, and Gemini also no, it's Gemini this or Gemini that. It's not just in Gemini. It's like they make it sound like you have to download a whole different app when in reality you don't. It's just, I don't fully understand. It's weird. But they talked a lot about the fact that this was my favorite thing. It's like AI, or people have used AI inside of Google search this many more times per month or per whatever than they were last year. It's like, well, yeah, because you force people to do that. Don't you understand that they don't have a choice? They're not clicking, oh, go to AI mode. No, it's just, that's the top thing that pops up is the AI, whatever they call it, not AI mode, but AI, I don't even care I don't know what it's called. But it's like that is just used. Whether or not people want to use it, they don't have a choice. So claiming that as a win for you makes 0 sense, Google. 0 sense. I don't get it. So that was fun. So some of the stuff they talked about on the developer side of things, they introduced this new thing called Anti-Gravity 2.0. I didn't know they had Anti-Gravity 1.0, but apparently they did. It says it's a redesigned agent-first development platform that uses Gemini 3.5 Flash, which is the new version of Gemini they introduced, to help build complex applications autonomously, including, and they also had a demonstration where the AI agents built a functioning operating system from scratch in 12 hours. So AI can build a full operating system, I guess. Don't do that. The one thing that was I guess a win in this to prove that it was a full operating system is the guy that was demonstrating this. He's like, well, it can't be a regular operating system unless it runs Doom, right? And I thought, okay, you have my attention. And sure enough, he was able to, with a few tweaks and prompts and whatnot, was able to run Doom inside of this new operating system. So I'll give him that. Gemini can run Doom, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, but worth noting, literally everything can run Doom, including things that are not operating systems that anyone would ever want to use for anything they actually do.
Well, that's why they showed this, because nobody wants to use this for anything they actually do.
I mean,
and it runs Doom.
Listen, we've seen AI code an operating system before, Google. It's called Windows 11. Nobody likes it.
Issues galore.
Yeah.
Just because you're doing it faster now doesn't make it any better.
Yep, that's true. One thing that they did showcase that I watched a little demo on that I thought was kind of cool is called Docs Live. This is inside of Google Docs. And what it allows you to do, it says here, allows users to create and edit documents in Google Docs using natural conversational voice commands. So the example that they gave on stage was like this guy I don't know if he was writing like a letter or an email or what, but he was saying like, I need to showcase what I've done with my work over the years. Can you import my resume? And he's like, well, that's actually kind of boring. Can you take what's on my resume and the things that I've written in there and make it sound interesting? And it more or less did that for him, made his work bio based off what he has on his resume. And I'm sure you would want to go into that and tweak things, make sure it actually is accurate and, didn't add things to your resume that you didn't already add yourself and whatnot. But the idea behind it is interesting. Whether or not, again, it works is yet to be seen by regular people. This was just the on-stage thing that they gave us. So, again, we don't know if it works. On the consumer side of things, the things that might actually affect you, listener, if you are into using Gemini for things, or even just Google search, because we'll get to that in a minute. But Gemini Spark, this is, again, one of those things that has to have its own name. It says it's a personal AI agent that integrates across Google products, and they did say eventually third-party apps as well, to handle long-running complex tasks in the background, such as planning events, managing email, and organizing schedules. And the thing that they mentioned how is like, and I've heard a lot of different people mention how this is actually going to benefit them because they'll be doing something inside of Gemini and they have to leave and they can't close their laptop or turn, like if they're doing their laptop, like they have to go do something else on the laptop, but they have to leave home, but they can't close their laptop because it's still running. This will actually make it so you can shut down your laptop. It'll still be working in the background, I guess, doing whatever AI stuff. And there's people that are like, oh, that's actually going to be really beneficial to what I do. I'm like, okay, good for you. I don't use Gemini enough to need that feature, but I guess that's a needed feature for some people. So, okay, good job, Google. They also introduced a redesigned Gemini app, a complete visual and functioning redesign based on a new neural expressive design language, because we needed more design languages from Google, featuring fluid animations and haptic feedback. Okay, fun. I mean, I opened the new Google Gemini app and I got the new 3.5 Flash, which seems to be worse. The user design doesn't look that much different to me. I don't know. Maybe I haven't got the full redesign. Whatever. On the Google search side of things, Google search, as I put it in my notes, because this part actually did save, Google search is now just AI, basically. Like I said, how before they were giving you the AI overview is what it's called, that I couldn't remember earlier. They were giving that on top of your search results, but you could skip past that to get to what you actually cared about. Now it's more or less just that. And the one thing that I could see being beneficial for most people that use Google search is if you didn't know how to really use Google search before, where you have to type in specific keywords. Basically, by using SEO type terms, you could get you could eventually get what you were looking for, but if you knew just what to type into Google, it worked really, really well. But now, instead of doing that, if you do know how to do that, you want to stop doing that, because that's not going to work as well anymore, unfortunately. Now you just want to use normal speaking language, basically. Like, you can ask it questions. You can just talk to it like you would normally talk to a friend if you were asking them that question, and it will be able to understand what you're searching for. So in that regard, I think it's going to be better for the average user. Again, if you didn't already know how to properly use Google search by putting it in like certain terms in brackets and parentheses and quotation, things that if you did use that, it worked really well. That now, if you do that, it's not going to work as well, unfortunately. They also mentioned that you can use text or different files from your computer or phone, images, videos, or Chrome tabs inside of your search queries to help find what you're looking for, different things like that. So basically, again, turning regular Google search into Gemini, more or less. Pros and cons, more cons than pros, but they're there.
I mean, the biggest con is that Google is the single largest search provider on the internet. And feeding up everybody who does a search on their platform with an AI summary of web pages means that nobody who uses Google search is going to click on any web pages, which means those web pages will not make any money because they're all supported by selling ad space. And if nobody's clicking through to the website, no ad revenue is gained, which means that everybody who is writing all of the content on those websites is going to lose their jobs, which means they won't be writing the content, which means the content is going to be auto-generated by a large language model in order to save money. And it will base that information that it uses to generate the website off of Google's index of the internet, and it'll be using Google summaries to do that, and then Google is going to pull that information into its summaries, which will then be used to write more websites because more people will get laid off, and eventually it will be functionally useless because it'll just be AI telling AI what to write about AI for AI to read, and you'll ask questions, you'll get answers, but nowhere in that answer will a human exist. Which means that unless you already knew the answer, you're not going to be able to tell whether or not the answer was correct. And why are you asking a question if you already know the answer? So that's going to make Google fundamentally useless for most people in like a low-key kind of whatever way, where people Google stuff and then they'll be like, oh gosh, this isn't useful information, and then they'll go on with their life, because for most of us, most of the time, what we are looking for on Google doesn't actually matter. Like earlier today, or was that yesterday, I was Googling, what does EP mean? What does LP mean? Right? In music. Turns out extended play, long play. Able to find that out easily. But eventually you're going to get it, and Google's going to spit something back, and you're going to be like, okay, is that real? I don't know. It might be, it might not be. And you move on with your day. But academic researchers use Google quite a lot to find sources and to find other people who they can connect with on the research that they're doing. These people are going to have to go back to publishing physical magazines and reading books for all of their communication in academia and whatnot, because the internet is going to be so full of AI regurgitating AI that it will be impossible to find useful stuff for folks where the information that they're Googling actually does matter.
Man.
It's like, if you've heard of the dead internet theory, this is how you get the dead internet theory. This is how that happens, is stuff like this. Like, that's the main con. From a user perspective, I think that what Google is offering here is extremely helpful. And if we lived in a universe where all of the people doing the research to write the articles that Google is pulling from to generate these summaries were able to do that for free, and they didn't have to worry about making money or something like that. Like, if we lived in Star Trek and everybody just had their basic needs provided for all the time, and they could do whatever they wanted with their time, you would have a whole bunch of people who all they wanted to do was learn things and post that stuff on the internet, and then Google could take that stuff and summarize it and give you a summary in response to your queries. If that was the universe we lived in, from a consumer perspective, a user perspective, this feature would be awesome. It would be incredible. And the more sophisticated their summary got, the more accurate their summary got of these, sources that were researched and like created by people, the better, right? This is like, from a user perspective, this is an awesome feature, but it has been created in a world where its very existence is going to render all information on the internet suspect. And that is a problem that I feel like Google has not adequately addressed, and or probably not even really considered. But maybe they have, and maybe they just decided to go ahead with it anyways, because money or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't fully disagree with what you're saying. That is definitely a worst case scenario opinion on what is happening with AI. And I do see some of that stuff happening. But also, and at the moment, I'm just feeling way too pessimistic about life in general and technology in general to really not argue, but come back at different things with your argument. But I will say I've also heard the people that are on the pro AI side talk about things, and also like this was definitely a major talking point with almost every single tech blog I could find a year and a half ago to a year ago. And I don't see them complaining as much about it anymore, if at all.
Because they fired all of their writers and replaced them with AI.
Okay,
so
okay, I'm not even going to acknowledge that because that's not entirely true.
The problem is it's not entirely true, but it is partially true.
Yeah, but
and
I'm also
we're kind of already walking this edge.
I'm also getting most of my information from other podcasts, which is actually other people, because you can tell when it's an AI generated podcast, and that's garbage. But anyways, moving on, because again, I am not in the headspace to really argue that. Where was I? Oh yes, the next thing, information agents. That's the next thing Google talked about here. This is going to be available for AI Pro and Ultra subscribers for Google. So this is not going to be for the regular people that don't pay for stuff, because I don't think you really should be paying for AI unless you have this very, very, very specific need. And even then, probably don't need to pay for it. But as the quote that they gave says, your agent will intelligently look across everything on the web, like blogs, news sites, and social posts, plus our freshest data, such as real-time info on finance, shopping, and sports, to monitor for changes related to your specific question. So that's basically, kind of along the lines of what Caleb was saying. It'll search those posts for you on the background and find the data. But again, it does give you sources, so you can click through on those sources, and I would recommend doing that. I usually will look at the AI overview, read it, and be like, okay, that's interesting, then I'll scroll down and find sources to prove that it's correct or not. And most of the time, it has been mostly accurate. But that's that. Again, that's only for people that are paying way too much money to use Gemini. One thing that they mentioned that I thought was actually really kind of cool and will be useful for the average person is something they called Universal Cart. And this is basically a smarter version of Google Shopping. Because, like, when they announced this, I'm like, doesn't this already kind of work this way? And yes, that is kind of the case with Google Shopping. So Google Shopping, you can look for things and you can ask it to send you notifications about a certain product that you're looking for. This makes it so you can put multiple products into your universal cart, as they call it. And it will, again, this was in my notes, but I don't remember exactly what I wrote down. It will keep track of price changes, or if something comes back and say you found something but it's out of stock at a website or wherever you want to buy it, it can alert you that if it comes back into stock. Again, very similar to what Google Shopping already does. It's just adding that into Gemini now, inside of search, inside of Google, inside of, it's just a Russian nesting doll of AI. But that's a lot of the stuff that Google talked about when it came to AI that's actually kind of useful and worth talking about for a regular consumer. The next thing, last thing they talked about was some new kind of new hardware. They've been talking about this for a long time, but they're finally bringing a product to the market sometime this year. They didn't actually announce any dates or anything like that, but they announced some smart glasses that they're calling audio glasses, because it doesn't have a screen. At least the ones they talked about don't have a screen on them, so you can't see things. It's just basically like the Meta Ray-Bans that just have Meta's AI built in and has a speaker that goes into your ear and whatnot. That's basically what these are, but with Gemini instead of Meta AI, so actually better, probably. But still, don't necessarily need to buy these. They do still have cameras on them. They do have a light indicator of when it is recording something, which is good. And they've also partnered with, they announced Samsung as one of their partners, and Samsung also, I think we've even talked about this on the podcast, how Samsung is coming out with some smart glasses in the near future. But they've also partnered with Warby Parker, which is a well-known glasses company, and Gentle Monster, which is a glasses company I've never heard of, but other people have. And the fact that they're actually working with glasses companies should mean that these look relatively normal. But at the same time, it took Meta and Ray-Ban a couple years to get their glasses looking like normal glasses, so my hopes aren't super high about how these are going to look. But yeah, they said that these will be launching this fall, is what they are announcing. Again, audio-only models. They haven't mentioned anything about having displays on them yet. I know they've shown that they're working on those in the past, but they're not announcing anything along those lines at the moment. So that's really all the stuff that I care to talk about with Google AIO, as I'm calling it. Yeah, just a lot of Gemini and a lot of just stuff that is interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, we'll just say interesting. Okay. All right, well, go ahead and move on. We're going to move on to some Apple news here. Rumors say automated shortcuts. Well, so that didn't take very long.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up to a conversation that we had in the podcast last week. Talking about Google adding the ability in Android to kind of generate your own widgets. So yeah, the rumor is that Apple is going to, in iOS 20, 7, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's how naming works. I'm
Ugh.
still not over that. In iOS 27, Apple's going to be introducing an AI feature that will let you give a plain text language prompt in order to organize a shortcut. So you can give it a sentence and it will produce a shortcut that it thinks meets your needs based on what you have asked for. And then you can manually go in and tweak that shortcut. Like it's a shortcut the way that shortcuts exist in the Shortcuts app currently, which is exactly what I was asking for in response to Google's feature. And now it's rumored to be in iOS 27, which is way faster than I was expecting to get that, but I'm not going to complain.
Well, to be fair, it does make a whole lot of sense because, I mean,
It really does.
Apple's AI is using Gemini in the background. So the fact they're basically just going to be like, oh, you announced that?
Yeah.
Good. We can use it now. We'll just call it our own
We'll
thing.
do that exact thing. Yep.
Sweet. All right. Well, on to some general tech news. I hope I say this correctly. Roscosmos is selling ad space on their rockets.
Yep. That's the entire news story, listener. Roscosmos is the Russian space agency. They have started selling ad space on the sides of their rockets. So they put big logos and stuff for companies that pay them onto the side of the rocket. It's visible on the cameras and it launches. And I guess if you really want to advertise to the type of people that watch rocket launches on the internet, go for it.
You know, honestly, I'm shocked that neither Elon or Bezos has thought about doing this on their own rockets.
Right? Bezos especially. That feels like this is a place where Blue Origin really should have been first to market.
Like, all you see is a giant Amazon logo on the rocket, and there you go.
Yeah. No. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, SpaceX throws their logo in gigantic letters onto the side of all of their rockets because they're advertising themselves. That makes a certain amount of sense, right? You don't see NASA putting giant NASA logos onto the sides of their rockets because the rocket is the advertisement for NASA. It's like, hey, look, it's the most powerful rocket anyone's ever launched into space. NASA, baby.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it, you know? And SpaceX, they're just, it's SpaceX. They do what they do. But yeah, Blue Origin should have been doing this years ago. But, oh well. Yeah, Roscosmos beat them to the punch. I can't imagine this is a super effective way to make money, but I suppose anything to offset the cost of a rocket launch. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool. All right. Well, let's get into some gaming news. These will be pretty quick. Just first thing on the docket here is Forza Horizon 6 is out. I've gotten on here to Forza Horizon 6, played a little bit. I got on. I bought my DeLorean, my DMC-12, drove it around a little bit, and then I logged out. So that's as far as
Listen, I think you've got the ideal experience pretty much covered right there. So
it's a good game. Like, if you like the Forza Horizon games, it's more of this. It's set in Japan. Probably reason why I figured I'd say something like this is because this is supposed to be one of the tent poles of Xbox that's released, and it's doing well.
They got so few of those left at this point. You got to talk about everyone.
Yep. So this is one of them. So doing well. So listener, if you like it, I mean, it's an arcadey, fun little thing. You could, like I said, you can get the DeLorean with 1,000 other cars, but also if you wanted to ride around in the Halo Warthog in Forza Horizon 6, you can. It's in there. So, all right, let's move on. There's a lot of breadcrumbs that are leading up to the things that are happening with Xbox and gaming in general, up to probably in about 2 weeks when there's a big showcase. And one of these fun little things that I normally probably wouldn't have really said anything, but I really want Caleb's reaction and what his thoughts are to this. Because, listener, so Asha Sharma, she's the new CEO of Xbox, and she set out a poll and asked if they should change the name of Xbox. And the way that they changed it was from Xbox, which was normal, just Xbox spelled the correct way, or all caps Xbox. And apparently what won out was all caps Xbox. And so, sure enough, there's a lot of things that they actually changed on the websites and all sorts of marketing with all uppercase Xbox. So, Caleb, is this a win for gamers?
So, listener, a few months ago, when Asha Sharma was handed the reins of Xbox, there were a lot of people saying a lot of things about what they thought about Asha Sharma and how terrible of a job she was going to be or doing as the head executive for Xbox. And I kind of came down on that, if you listen to that episode, from the perspective of, well, you know what? You look at the things that she has done so far, at the very least, it seems like you can be pretty confident in saying that she is at least trying her best. Like she's coming into this with the intent to try and learn the job and do it well. Whether or not she's given the reins to do that, depends. Since then, I think it's fair to say she does want to do the job well. But it's not even at this point so much like Microsoft isn't letting her, as much as it is how much can you actually do when it takes 5+ years to develop a game? All of the major, or a new console or anything like that, all of the major stuff that people have been whining about that she could do to quote unquote save Xbox relies on her to have started doing that 5 years ago, which obviously she did not. So she is stuck driving the car that Phil Spencer left her with, and I can see she's doing her best, but the only lever she's got to pull here is brand identity. She can change the marketing, she can change logos, she can change colorways and websites and spellings and capitalization and stuff like that. That's all marketing bullcrap. That's easy to change. She can change that, and she's been doing a lot of that to try and quote-unquote resuscitate or save the Xbox brand, which is great, but that is not lasting change. The most significant thing that she's done is drop the price of Game Pass back down to something slightly more sane. Is that enough to save Xbox? I don't know, right? We'll see, I guess, but it is kind of funny that, to look at this and go yep, I'm still convinced that Asha Sharma is trying to do her best. But, boy, she may be hamstrung in more ways than I had initially thought.
Yep. Interesting.
So, is this a good thing for Xbox? I don't know. The big capital Xbox is kind of a vibe. It feels very early 2000s. Is that the brand identity that Xbox gamers are going to identify with? Maybe. Is that going to make a big difference? No. Is this going to bring people back to the Xbox ecosystem? No. This is not going to do anything significant. Yep. But I guess, like I said, that's the only lever she's got to pull, and she is pulling on it as hard as she can.
I just...
More power to you.
I wouldn't have said anything, but I was like, man, this sounds like a really good Caleb rant, and I want to hear it.
It's a whole thing, man. Xbox. Good.
But that is a good analogy,
though. Out for him.
So. All right. Well, listener, we're going to go ahead and get to one of our newest segments of the podcast, which is the Bright Side of Life.
Welcome to the bright side of life. Hey! Hey! Jump in!
All right, the bright side of life, new segment we got. We're going to go ahead and start off with Caleb. Give us your bright side of life.
Yeah, this week it's weirdly printers, which is, given my history,
That's not normal.
a weird place to come at this from, and not 3D printers, in fact. Though I will say I have been looking at newer 3D printers, specifically Prusa. I feel like that's kind of the move at this point, listener, if you're looking at 3D printers. Anyways, I have had for about the past 4 or 5 years or so a black and white laser printer that I got used from the local university. It cost $20 when I bought it. I paid $25 or $30 for a new extended use toner cartridge for it that I honestly don't even 10,000, 20,000 pages or something like that is what they were quoting for the lifespan of this toner cartridge. And it's great. Prints super crisp, super fast, does double-sided printing, has an Ethernet jack on the back of it, so I plug it into my router and it is air printable from all of my Apple devices and everything. It's great. Other than the fact that it doesn't do color. Not a huge deal for me. I just plan around it. I only print black and white. About once a year, there's a moment where I'm like, wish I had a color printer. And then I get over it and move on with life. However, just recently, my wife has gotten involved with some community stuff where it would be beneficial for her to be able to print things in color on a regular basis. So we were in the market for a color printer, and I went back to the university, looked at the used printers that were available there. All they had were cartridge-based inkjet HP printers, and nope.
Bad idea.
I did not purchase any of those. So, again, looking at the printer market, I was like, you know what? I feel like I got to practice what I've been preaching this whole time, and that is tank printers, the tank format inkjet printers. Considering that we are intending to only use this thing for about like a third of our print use cases, anything that can reasonably be printed in black and white, we're just going to use the laser printer for that. It's much faster anyways, and honestly crisper. So, yeah, we've had this printer, bought it this week, set it up. It's an Epson, got it from Costco for about $50 off. And, Epson, they're the ones that kind of pioneered the whole eco tank style printer. And I gotta say, I had a moment where I was like, ooh, is this the right call? Because Walmart was selling a Brother cartridge inkjet printer for about half the price. And there were, Brother does not still, thankfully, they're a good printer brand, listener. They still don't lock you down to using their cartridges in their printers, right? Epson does. On their cartridge-based inkjet printers, you have to buy their cartridges. They've got an NFC tag in them. If you don't have their cartridge, it won't print. And that's like a whole thing, but Brother doesn't do that. So I was like, ooh, do I pay half the money? And then I can use third-party cartridges, looked up the prices for those, saw how much they cost. Or do I get the Epson tanklet or tank style printer that I've been saying on this podcast for years is what you should get instead of buying an HP printer, right? Got it. It is pretty good. Turns out the advice that I've been giving on this podcast is good. It worked out.
At least that one.
I will say, yeah, this particular model has some quite a lot of negative reviews, like on Costco's website, for instance. A lot of one-star reviews. 90% of them were people complaining about the Wi-Fi on it. That the Wi-Fi was just weak. It wouldn't stay connected to their router and was just being garbage. And that is very frustrating and obnoxious to use. And then the other 10%, it seemed like just kind of people who had gotten a lemon, Occasionally, you just get a broken product or a product that has issues with it and whatnot. One of the nice things about buying from Costco is you can totally get a lemon, find out it's a lemon, take it back, and they will take it back. They don't care. They'll give you your money back. So, I was like, okay, so that answers that 10%. And as far as the Wi-Fi is concerned, I'm going to be putting it next to the computer that it's going to be printing from most frequently. I'm just going to plug it into that with a cable.
Sure.
And so we plugged it into the computer with the cable. Didn't have to deal with Epson's stupid setup app or anything like that. No drivers to install because it's a Mac. The drivers are already included for basically every printer on the market. And turned on printer sharing so that it is in fact accessible on the network through this Mac. Weirdly, that should make it available to all of the iOS devices in the house, but for some reason they don't seem to be able to find the printer. But the other Macs in the house can find it, and given the use case for this particular printer, that's actually all that matters. So maybe not this exact model of printer, listener. If you really want it to be available on your Wi-Fi and you're not planning to store it right next to your router, this one seems to have kind of a funky Wi-Fi card that is not very good. But, there's ways to work around that. And I will say the third party, because like Epson on their product listings for their cartridge printers, they have this whole thing. It's like, you can't use anything but Epson cartridges with this printer. This is for your own safety. Sure it is. But for this thing, it's all like, you should not use any third-party ink with this printer. It's bad. We can't guarantee the quality. And I'm like, yes. Should not and cannot are two very different things. You can't control what kind of ink I put into this thing. And I looked up the prices. A bottle of ink that is good for like 10,000 pages or something is $9.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So I'm like, this is the way.
Yeah, and listener, I can vouch for that because I've had an Epson tank printer for about 5 years. And I've also been saying, if you're going to buy one, this is the way. And like anybody that asks me is like, what printer should I get? I'd say this one, or at least this style. And like, yes. And I've got an Epson brand one. I've got mine at Sam's Club, probably very similar model. Mine's older, obviously, so it might be a little different. I actually haven't had zero issues with Wi-Fi. Like, that's how we predominantly print. Well, that's how we print everything. We don't have it connected to hardwired to anything. Yeah. And like, I can print from my phone. I can print from our iPads. I can print from our computers. And we've had zero issues with it over the years. It's been absolutely fantastic. And like, yeah, I would definitely recommend. And like, we just barely had to buy new ink because, again, like we print quite a bit of stuff, but the ink that it came with was sufficient for the last 5 years. And we bought some new ink recently, and we bought third-party ink off Amazon for ridiculously, and it was like the same price. If we were to buy the stuff from Epson, would have cost the same amount, but a much smaller bottle. Whereas we bought like large bottles that'll last us who knows how long, because we can just put in what we need for a couple months and be good, and then just refill it when we need to. It's absolutely great. And then you don't have to worry about, like Caleb's been saying, the stupid first-party printer cartridges or replacing print cartridges, because that also is, for some reason, way dumber of a process than it ever needed to be. I don't know why print companies have made that. I mean, it's not difficult. It's just stupid.
It is.
Whereas like filling up these tank is, you open up a lid, put the bottle in, squeeze it in, close it. You're good to go.
No. You don't squeeze. At least not on the new ones. That was all over their marketing.
More or less. Yeah. Let it go.
Guide.
Yeah.
Don't squeeze.
No, they were very, 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 so many warnings. Do not squeeze. I'm like, okay, geez, guys, calm down.
That's amazing.
But yeah, no, so that's been my week is like, partially the bright side is, hey, like this is a good printer. It's it's pretty good. It's a pretty good printer. But it's also partially like, hey, yeah, this has been good advice, right? Like, I have not actually tested this particular piece of advice until now, but it was the advice that I've been giving people based off of the research I had done. And it's nice to know that research held out.
Yes.
Good. Awesome. Very good. Well, next one is me, Bright Side of Life. Listener, this one is nighttime medicine. So I've been not feeling well for the past almost 2 weeks. That's why I wasn't actually here recording last week. Because, man, it hit ahead. But there's sometimes I can't fall asleep, whether I'm achy, whatever. But nighttime medicine, whether it is NyQuil or the Western family version of NyQuil or whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't, at that point I didn't care what flavor. I just was like, just whatever. Because sometimes flavor, you got to have some. But
just give me some NyQuil and a straw and I'm good.
Yep, just let me have this. So yes, that was the bright side of my life this week. Because, man. So, nothing really...
the bright side is medically assisted sleep. that says something about how life has been recently.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't help the fact that also at this time of year you're dying because of allergies. So it's like a double punch to the face with what's been going on with you.
It's true, 100%. So. All right, Landon, why don't you surprise us with your bright side of life?
Oh, listener, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. I had some issues with tech stuff getting going, and that really made me not in a great mood for this episode. Like, if Google I.O. hadn't happened this week, I would have been like, screw it, we're not recording, because this is annoying. But we got things going, it worked out fine. But, and I didn't have a bright side to put on the docket for this week, because I'm like, I don't know, I'm not in the mood for that at the moment. But I did just think of something. So, the last week or so, it's been on the warm side around where we live. And for me, like, it's not, I can't say it's ridiculously hot because it's going to get much hotter where we live in the coming months. I am not looking forward to that at all because this week has been, for me, too hot. Like, I am not the type of person that is like, oh, I just love the heat. No, I don't. And when it gets to around 75, that's about too hot for me. Like, if it's 75 and shady, I'm okay. If it's 75 and not shady, get me in some shade because this is miserable. And so it's been on the warmer side this past week, but today specifically has been quite nice. Little rainy, overcast, right around 65 degrees most. It's been really nice today. So that's my bright side of life this week is just a little bit cooler temperatures for the first time in a couple weeks. It's nice.
Agreed.
Man, you're going to have a rough week this week, aren't you?
Oh, I'm not looking forward to the rest of this week. No.
I was going to say, have you looked at this week's forecast?
Yeah.
All right, listener. Well, we're going to go ahead and end the episode there. Unless, Landon, you got one more thing for us?
No, I don't.
Listener, we appreciate you listening to us this episode or all the episodes that you have listened to. If you want to get a hold of us, or you want to tell us anything or have us talk about something, or bug Landon more about whatever, saying, hey, you're a wimp for that many temperatures or whatever. I don't know. Can you tell that the medicine's wearing off right now? I'm really trying.
We need to get Wes to bed.
Anyway, get into my spiel. You can get a hold of us at callingallplatforms.com. You can check out our YouTube channel with Calling All Platforms over there. Check out any gaming things, and Caleb might have a video or two or something. Who knows? Sometime soon. Who knows? Maybe.
Not me.
He's shaking his head no. Well, you can go check it out over there. All right, listener. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.